Young Turks. JR, who is that? Is that Amy Winehouse? Okay. You know what? She does sound good, though. You got to give her that, man. She's a hell of a singer. All right. Now let's talk about drone wars. We're going to talk to Dan Froomkin. He's with the Huffington Post now, and he wrote a very interesting article about this. Dan, welcome back to the Young Turks.
Well, thanks. It's great to be here.
Oh, it's great to have you. First of all, let's start with this very simple question. You know, these drones, of course, are unmanned, and when we shoot them, sometimes we kill the bad guys, and sometimes we kill civilians. Is that legal?
Well, funny you should ask. The State Department actually finally tried to answer that question this morning. Harold Koh, the former dean of Yale Law School, who is now the legal advisor of the State Department, actually gave a speech this morning and sort of said basically, yeah, it's legal.
Okay. Oh, well, then that's covered. What was his rationale?
And we're very careful, and you know, we're at war, and that gives us the ability to basically do all this stuff in self-defense, and we have processes, and we try to, you know, be very careful about this stuff. And that was about all he said.
Well, let me drill down on that, if there's anything to drill down on, because, look, on a practical level, I might agree with him. Would I rather have done some drone strikes on Saddam Hussein rather than invade all of Iraq? Yes. Okay. Now, on a legal level, though, it doesn't. I'm not sure that really answers the question by saying we're really careful. I don't think that's a legal standard.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to make fun of him, because I certainly do appreciate the fact that they're at least starting to talk about this. But this has got to be just the very beginning of a discussion. This is really complicated stuff on an ethical level, on a moral level, on a military level. Peter Singer, the scholar who's actually written a book about robot wars, you know, he says that sort of this new unmanned weaponry is as revolutionary as, you know, gunpowder was in its time, or the atomic bomb. It totally rewrites the rules of the game. And so, you know, this is a nice beginning, I guess, but we really need to understand the rules a lot better. Because you're right, there are some circumstances in which you know, obviously it's better. But the concern right now for a lot of folks is that, from what we can tell, there have been a lot of civilian casualties. And of course, the government isn't telling us how many civilians they've killed with this technology. And there's a sense in which when you're not putting somebody in danger, maybe you're going to be a little bit less restrained about doing stuff. And then thirdly, there's the whole issue of sort of remote sensing and so on. I mean, there was just an incident in Afghanistan a few months ago, where, you know, U.S. soldiers and Afghan soldiers actually on the ground, you know, killed the wrong people. So it's hard enough to tell who the right and wrong people, you know, in those right, in air quotes, right people, wrong people are. In person, it's even harder when you're doing it through a drone camera lens.
When you're sitting in Tampa or Nevada, yeah.
Yeah.
And so, you know, that leads to a whole host of new questions. First of all, haven't we killed American citizens doing this too?
You know,
I think there was the guy was in one of the guys was in Yemen, and we killed an American. Now, and then the legal question involved there was, can the president order an assassination of an American? I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah.
Do they know?
Right, and also, you know, from what we seem to know a fair amount about how the military uses these strikes. We don't know anything about how the CIA uses these strikes, and, you know, I don't think it's quite as bad as, you know, in Doonesbury, but I think we just need to have a sort of national discussion about these issues.
And you know, Dan, the other thing is, look, when I say they killed an American I think it was in Yemen, I don't mean that there was a tourist about to go somewhere and they drop a bomb on his ass. No, of course not. But if there are no legal standards, well, then this guy we think was a really bad guy, then the next guy we're not quite sure, and then the next guy, well,
what the hell,
you know, and this time it was in Yemen, and the next time it's in Pakistan, and the third time it's in India.
Yeah.
The fourth time it's in Germany. I mean,
Yeah.
you would
And
say,
then
"Oh,
it's-
Germany,
then
you're
it's
crazy."
in L.A., man. You know, I mean.
Well, and then maybe in L.A., right? I mean, look, no, if you don't have legal standards, though, you don't know, because people, that sounds crazy, right? I mean, we're not going to do a drone strike on Germany, right? Except for the fact that we did kidnap people out of Germany and torture them.
I think you put your finger on it, which is that there needs to be a legal standard. It doesn't necessarily have to be the same, the same exact kind of probable cause that we'd have, to arrest someone domestically. We are, these people are, sort of at war with us. So you can have rules of war, which are different, but what are those rules? And so how sure do you have to be? I mean, that's the question now. I mean, that was never the question when people were in uniform. So how sure do you have to be that these are really the bad guys, and it's not just somebody's brother-in-law got pissed at him and decided to call the CIA and land a drone on their heads.
Well, in the last segment we did a story about a tribal leader in Afghanistan that we were convinced was Taliban, and then we put a hit out on him, and then he ran to Pakistan, and then we found out later he wasn't Taliban. And why did we make that mistake? Because a local guy wanted to get rid of him and fed us false information. Can that happen again? Of course, that will happen all the time.
Right. Well, a lot of the people in Guantanamo were there because basically, there was a bounty system, and in Afghanistan, and people were turning in the people they didn't like or people they owed money to and stuff like that.
Before Obama took office, I did this little segment. I remember thinking, man, I don't think I'd want to be president. It's a really tough job because I think some of these drone strikes make sense, but you're killing a certain number of civilians.
Yeah.
And that's a tough thing to live with.
Well, yeah, and when the first really big civilian casualty from an airstrike in Afghanistan happened, within like 3 months or so of his inauguration, and I was still writing my column at the Washington Post then, and I wrote a really blistering column basically saying, where's the remorse? We didn't expect remorse from Bush, but this guy, you just did something which killed 20 children. Show us some remorse. And he basically briefly mentioned it a couple days later, like, oh, that was bad. I just think that we can't. That just worried me because it was another example of sort of Bushism infecting the rest of American polity in a way that I thought was really disturbing.
I mean, you're asking for remorse. No wonder you're not at the Washington Post anyway. Well, I got a lot to say about that paper, but anyway. But Dan, look, you're really right, because in our media, the way that things are covered is that Obama thought so long and hard before he sent more American soldiers to Afghanistan because he thought about their families, etc. That's great. But when you kill 20 civilians that are not Americans, well, okay, sad day. We move on. Look, it doesn't mean it's the wrong thing. So let's talk about that for a second. And we're talking to Dan Froomkin from Huffington Post. Dan, I would much rather do a drone strike in Yemen than invade Yemen.
Yes.
And now, that doesn't mean those are your only two options. And so I don't want to set up straw men.
Exactly.
Right. But given those two options, isn't the drone strike better?
Sure, but it's interesting because we fly a drone over Yemen and blow somebody up, but we're not at war with Yemen. But if we invaded Yemen, we'd be at war with Yemen. So it's only war if you send people in. That seems like a bizarre distinction.
Or, Israel apparently went and assassinated a guy in Dubai, a Hamas leader, and everybody's outraged by that because they use European passports, et cetera, and of course Dubai is outraged. Mm-hmm. Okay, but we assassinate people all the time, except we don't do it with an assassination squad dressed up as tennis players. We do it by dropping a bomb on their head. Yeah.
No, I mean, and I think that there's going to be some circumstances in which I think that can be defensible, but I think it's important that we understand the rules of the road, and Harold Coe started outlining those in very broad strokes this morning.
And here's the second part of why that's important, I think, Dan. I'm sorry to cut you off there for a second.
No, it's all right.
Because I'm not sure what I feel about drone strikes right now, because I don't know what the rules of the road are. I don't know what the standard is.
Right.
And we have our government, especially the CIA, using these in ways that they've never been held to account for. So how do I know if it makes sense or it doesn't make sense? I don't know what their options are.
Right.
It might make sense, but I got to know. I mean, it is a democracy, right?
What I wanted, the two of the things I want to know the most are how many civilians have we killed thus far with this technology, and what are we doing, going forward to prevent further civilian deaths? They need to answer those questions.
And what I want to know is, when they go to pull the trigger, what informs their decision? You know,
right, and that would be the next tier, which is how, just sort of operationally, how do they decide when to pull the trigger? And because think about it, this is a totally different kind of war. It's very easy to send a drone up and blow somebody up. There's none of the resistance that you would have if you realized, we're going to actually be going to war with this country, or we're going to put our own troops in danger. It's really fascinating. And I just mentioned, this reminds me of one of the, I went to a congressional hearing. The first congressional hearing on drones, finally, was a couple days ago. And that was what sort of prompted my article for the Huffington Post. And one of the guys was saying it's also important that we not do entirely unmanned wars, because then that's a danger to Homeland Security. Because if there's nobody for them to shoot at, they'll come over here.
Well, I found that argument to be absurd. I read that, but I mean that presupposes the Bush doctrine.
I think you have to ask yourself a lot of different things. At the same time, one of the congressmen on the panel was saying, why are we building aircraft carriers, basically?
That's a good question. See, that's the part I like about the drones, because maybe it saves us a ton of money. And the drone makers, of course, are ecstatic about this, but the rest of the defense industry has to be a little nervous.
Right. Well, but keep in mind, there's no reason to think that we're not creating a new monster in terms of defense contracting, and B, much more than aircraft carriers, everybody's going to have drones soon. In fact, a lot of people already have drones, and a lot of parts of the American government that aren't defense have drones, not armed. But this is like open source, computing. This is like the internet. This is not something you can control.
Dan, I read that in your article too. Is that really true? Hezbollah used drones in the last 2006 conflict with Israel?
They did it. They were supplied by Iran, and actually Israel shot one of them down, I believe.
Really? Were they armed drones or
no? No, I don't think so. I mean, that's the other thing. I mean, we talk about drones. There's totally different whether you're talking about drones for for sort of surveillance and drones that are actually armed. And there's going to be a third category, which is drones that are autonomous rather than drones that are controlled, by somebody in Tampa. They're actually building this new stealth bomber that would be autonomous.
Come on,
no,
Dan. What does that mean, autonomous?
It would actually they would program it and then send it off.
Well,
yeah,
they program it. What decisions does it make in air about who to kill?
I was talking about this with a guy earlier today, and he said, "Man, there must be somebody at the Pentagon whose job is to watch these movies in which." Science fiction movies in which people come up with things that annihilate destroy humanity and recreate them.
But look, if you do autonomous drones, or if you do drones at all, now I'm beginning to think, well, maybe they can get hacked. What if somebody hacks into the computer in Tampa and says, you know what, I'll go ahead and take your 10,000 drones and I'll redirect them?
Well, already even whether it's autonomous, there was a report a few months ago that. With $20 and some stuff that got off the internet, that folks, the terrorists, that the insurgents in Afghanistan were actually interfering with the predators.
Oh boy!
Yeah.
And finally, on that front, what happens when China decides they're going to have 1 million drones?
Yeah, or why 1 million? Why stop there?
And I hope now we used to talk about Star Wars. Okay, now we're going to have real Star Wars.
Yeah.
You
Except
know.
it'll be sort of in the in the atmosphere.
And final thing on this, okay, is back to the legal standards thing, right? You know, like conservatives listening to this will probably think like, oh, these damn libs, they want, you know, the CIA to report to them on every specific mission. Look, I don't need to know if you're going to kill al-Libi or al-Bibi, okay? I don't know, and you don't have to tell me that. We're not asking for operational details. But the reason we need to have standards on when you shoot is because those standards don't just apply to America. Dan, they would also apply to China, right?
Yeah.
And to Iran and to other countries. And boy, it'd be nice to have international standards to know when they could shoot their drones.
Yeah, it's a moving target, as it were, and we need to figure out what the rules are, and we need to not be secretive about them.
All right, Dan Froomkin from the Huffington Post. Great
Hey,
article.
Cenk, I just want to say I apologize for droning on.
Zinger! Good. All right. Fun note to end on. I like it, Dan.
Talk to you
All
soon.
right. Have a great weekend.
Bye-bye.
We'll see you soon. All right. Young Turks coming right back.